What's up? How's it going? Ha- welcome to Pancake Marathon. Well, essentially, what is your ingredient to your recovery, and how do you practice the principles? Practice the principles in all your affairs. Absolutely. How do you rehydrate? It's a marathon. It's not a race. You don't want to sprint. You're gonna, how do you keep going? Absolutely. And so that's what this is all about. And this is a way that I can, carry the message. Tradition 5. Upon itself of this is my recovery. Absolutely. And so this is how I maintain it. How I keep on rehydrating and keep sharing the message. In a way of saying, in a simple, modern day, matter of fact of relatability. And that of how these things, the setup of recovery, the steps, their traditions, and how it works, the 36 principles, to ultimately, to what? Get to the one and only principle, God. Of what? Our own understanding. Simply a peace of mind. That's what we're all looking for, is a peace of mind. Well, welcome to Pancake Marathon. Well, what's up? I don't necessarily have a schedule, we can simply say, other than what is the religious part, in a sense. Because some could say, well, everyone, and it is very, very true, that this, of any recovery program, regardless if it's 12 steps or non 12 step related or themed applied or whatnots, it comes down to the simple fact that the religious part is that you have to be rigorous about it, right? You have to keep doing it, regardless of what you used to think like, because maybe that's what got you here. Truly, truly. And in the same sense, it's spiritual because there's value in everything. You don't shut the door on the past and you keep going. Absolutely. And so I think a fitting topic today, because, going off of what I was kind of indicating, is I don't have a schedule. And the only means in the sense of making a podcast is because I feel that I have something to share, that I need to not isolate, that I need to keep on communicating. Absolutely. And, to me, sharing, that's how you heal. And a program, is it just fancy words on a piece of paper or whatever it may come to you as? Yeah. Until what? You, the one that has the meaning or to bring, in a sense of saying. Life is what life is. And yet, if life came to the moment of wanting to experience itself, well, ultimately life doesn't have any meaning until someone is able to observe it and bring meaning to it, and the context of that definition of how they are going about this experience, whatever it may be. And so simply, sharing is healing yourself. And a program, well, that's you. It's not just some fancy words on a piece of paper that seem to be, a historical document, in a sense of saying, or a dissertation, or a theory, or whatever it may be. Because it's none of those in all actuality, especially not a theory. Because, there's actual things that actually apply to it, and there's no models other than, there's not. This is not science-based, right? And a theory, well, you can just present, you're just saying in a fancy way of saying, this is philosophy. Well, let's go ahead and take this one part and this other part and put it together and see how it thrives, right? And so it's not a theory, because you don't need to have a model to see how this, this theory that has no standing other than whatever you're bringing to it. And so it's philosophy at that point. And then with that tradition of 5, and that means of that group carrying the message of science, right? And so it's not a theory, and there is no model needed to be created, because these are actual facts, de jure, essentially. And so what is to simply say is to, so I only make podcasts in a sense of, well, when I want, like, wanting to share, wanting to heal, wanting to get to a point of not isolating, to pray and to, meditate in of itself. Absolutely. So today, I feel that is suiting for the topic to be, how do you keep your peace of mind? Simply to say, well, let's see how we all can keep our peace of mind and what kind of led me to this topic and all of itself. Thank you. So, keeping your peace of mind, what does that mean? What is that about? I mean, isn't that ultimately why we are doing this? I mean, yes, the steps and all the principles and all that kind of stuff is essentially helping us to manifest, to live, right? I came to that spiritual awakening as the result of, practicing principles in all my affairs, because I put the work in. I wasn't using, and I was able to, get to this point in my life, right? Because I'm connecting the dots. Absolutely. Simply, simultaneously, one thing is happening at the same time. I'll say it again. Simply, simultaneously, one thing is happening at the same time. It's magnanimous upon itself. It's a spiritual nature in of itself. It's so much value, and we have to unpack it, and moments and moments and moments, and it's fractals and everything, right? Yet, to simply say, how do you keep your peace of mind? Because ultimately, we are really wanting to manifest the golden rule of what? What is the golden rule of, simply to kind of sum up the steps upon themselves of everything? Because what ultimately are we getting out of this whole entire thing of, well, being able to be part of our lives and get to? I would say, a good thing, or what it may be, to sum up as a golden rule is treat others how you want to be treated. So we can kind of say to love thy neighbor as thyself, and so shall you be. That is essentially how I, end or conclude every meeting that I chair. Right? That's how I, like I just said, conclude and close that meeting. Absolutely. Because, there's a point where you don't really, at points, aren't ready and to admit that you need help, and you're so willing to stay focused on the pain that every past action upon itself, regardless of what it is, you ultimately have the responsibility of what? To make life happen and bring meaning to it, right? To stay within the solution, to get out of the pain. So ultimately, what are we doing? We're getting to a point of keeping our peace of mind, not getting so angry, acting instead of reacting, right? And so essentially, the past is important. And yes, it's easy, it's done. What are you going to do now? How are you going to, practice the principles in all your affairs at this moment? What do you do from here? You start where you're at. Absolutely. Don't pass yourself into depression or future trip yourself into anxiety, right? Like, to me, the past and future, they don't necessarily exist. It's just a fancy way of saying change within a time of itself, right? It's like the whole thing of summing up one word or 50 words into one, right? That if we're at a level of teaching, okay, let's unpack that and go through the whole entire thing until you can get to a point, well, maybe now you're at a level of preaching, being reminded, basically, is what preaching is. And so ultimately, we are all wanting to keep our peace of mind. And how do we do that? Well, we try, right? And essentially, we don't shut the door on the past, because if we do, we're forgetting. Yet you forgive and you never forget, ultimately. And so, to kind of sum up or keep going in a sense because I'm showing up. I'm showing up and I'm putting the work in so I can manifest it, so I can live that life, right? And so essentially, ultimately, what am I doing in life right now? Well, essentially, doing this, yet the point of this whole entire thing, in a sense of saying, is to not isolate. To, yes, use anonymity at a point of let that pain be nameless. And to find my part in keeping my peace of mind. Right? And so that's what I'm doing. Yet ultimately, what led me to this topic of keeping your peace of mind and applying in a means of relatability to what's going on around me, living life on life's terms. Absolutely. Admitting that I am powerless and that past is unmanageable. It really, really is. And essentially, me putting the work in, me manifesting what it may be. I just have to say that I love how Bill was such a linguistics that they would say the same thing over and over again in the same way because they really want to hit it home. Other than that, they just reworded it in a different way, yet they're ultimately saying the same things. I mean, like, if you lined up how it works, the traditions and the promises next to each other, then you're going to see that it is the same thing being said in a different way. Absolutely. And so essentially, upon itself, I would like to go into the point of how I got to wanting to keep my peace of mind and to try, right? Because that is essentially, step 12. Had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. We try to carry the message and to practice the principles in all our affairs. Absolutely. Right? We try to carry the message to those that are still sick and suffering. Right? And so essentially, to me, a spiritual awakening is you putting the work in, manifesting, to that of getting the point of now you discover what is what, right? You take these you prayed, it's a spiritual nature, right? And then, you put it into you put it into thought, your emotions, mental, essentially. And then you put it into physical action, right? Now you're taking action. This is an action-based program. Okay, so you have that spiritual awakening, right? You now have this, you now know how to handle situations that used to baffle you. Absolutely. Probably because you changed your ways and stopped doing exactly what you did before and did the exact opposite, right? I'm just saying, there's points. And so now with me, simply to say that I tried. Oh my gosh, did I try. I mean, I went, some could say, above and beyond, in a sense of saying, or just doing the right thing, making sure that someone had something that at a point that they couldn't get for themselves or didn't think about getting because they're so, where they're at. And that's fine. That's perfect, right? Yet I tried. I absolutely tried. And now it's coming down to the simple point of my peace of mind, my sobriety, right? Me not using, right? And moving on to someone that does want it. Absolutely. That's really ultimately what it comes down to. It really, really does. It really, really does. And what occurred to bring me to this point in my life to where I tried, but I'm moving on. Because that's what the 12th step is all about. You try. And in recovery, try is not a bad thing. Yes, without recovery, I used to think if you try, you're doing nothing other than, I don't even know. I don't even have time for that noise. Absolutely not. Right? You got to do it. You do it or what else are you doing? Not doing it. You're trying? Well, I don't even know what to say to you right now. You're not doing it. You're trying and that's your best? maybe you're just not good enough. Your best is not good enough. You're trying. I don't even know. I don't know. Not today. Not right now. You go find somebody else that wants to paint, like, whatever. You know, you can talk to the hand of yourself because that's what you're doing. You know, yeah, simply to say, you know, in recovery, I've learned that is such a spiritual nature upon itself that has value, right? That when we bring the opposite of tradition 4, which is let it run unless it's focusing on the pain or devaluing, right? And so I changed. I have changed because of recovery. I've changed because I'm putting the work in to manifest that I do have value. Everyone else has value. God doesn't make junk. And so at this point in my life, you know, to simply kind of just say it of what it is, right? Still doing anonymity at this point. So there are those that I get to be there because I want to, and I absolutely enjoy in it, and I love what I do. That's why I'm doing it. Why else do that? I mean, if it's not your passion and you're not following your highest pursuit of your passion, what are you doing in life, right? Maybe you're just trying at that point. You know, even that just really means you're building a wall and you're closing yourself off. Well, don't destroy that wall. Build a door. Add a door. Because maybe it's a wall to your perfection, right? Progress is the way you reach perfection, right? It's progress along spiritual lines. And yet simply to say, well, I provided so many things, yet at that place where I accrue an income, essentially, where all that kind of stuff, they didn't listen. The ones that it was not their first day, and yes, I jokingly, I just all the time about, oh, it's my first day, because isn't it everybody's first day? Every moment's different. In that moment, you never did it before. So your expectation of, I brushed my teeth, you don't know how to do it. The only way you know how to do it is to have it be in the past, and you did it, and that's why it's easy. Absolutely. Yet simply to say, they have to do something in order for all of us to leave. And it doesn't matter what they're doing at that moment. When it needs to be done, it needs to be done. And instead of them doing it to be able to have everybody leave sooner, and seeing the importance of those that are there, get there a lot earlier and have to stay there until the stuff is done. So essentially, what happened was they didn't do it right away. They did it on their own accord, making it to where everybody has to stay there longer. I don't care how long it takes, because I'm the one that has to do that one thing that has to be done, which is shine glasses, right? I have to hand shine all the glasses before we can leave, okay? And so if that doesn't get done, then no one can leave. So it doesn't matter how long it takes me to shine those glasses, because it is depending on how many glasses there are in that moment. Yet, instead of them stopping what they're doing, they kept on doing it to a point where, oh, I have whatever justification of room, even though you can push all that stuff aside, and then do what you need to do so that we all can leave in a timely manner. So we don't have to, live there, basically. We can have a life. And yet, so instead of listening to me, and the same thing with, clearing the patio, the same exact thing, right? Because there are other things to do. Absolutely. It's a restaurant. You can never be bored at a restaurant. There's always something to do. And if you're taking your time because, and on that day, it was essentially a Friday or whatever may be, right? Where you had free time to yourself for the next whatever amount of time, right? Some could say it's a weekend, but who wants to be weak at the end? I don't know, but words are something, and value is everything, and it's your intention, and, it's absolutely what context of the definition that you're referring from. And yet there's a collective energy within that. yet. So essentially, getting to, the point of keeping my peace of mind, right? So that I can practice the principles in all my affairs. Now, did I, yell at them and absolutely bring hurt and steal their peace of mind? I did not. It came down to the point of, well, it's my sobriety. I'm not going to have to pay for their stinking thinking, whatever that may be, of the three kinds of sobriety that, they're, not making progress along, whatever it may be for them. I have to pay for my using and my stinking thinking, right? And the pain that I would give out, stealing someone's peace of mind. Absolutely. And so usually, there's points to where I would go up, be like, oh, I'll get the Uber today and we can all go at the same time. Nope, not this time. I had headphones, and the only reason I responded is because I could somewhat hear them. And it was an absolute needs to talk to them upon what needs to be done, what can go where, right? And so it's not that I shut down, it's not that I was isolating. It was all comes down to the simple fact that it's my self-care. You don't want what I have to offer. You don't care to a certain point to where I have made sure that you had certain things to make your life that much less unmanageable, right? It's not that essentially I was, oh, you're about to eat, let me feed you. No, it was doing the right thing. It was being kind and loving, making sure everybody had a peace of mind. Yet, they didn't have enough respect for themselves and upon itself others, right? It's okay to a certain degree to make your life complicated. But when you complicate others' life, that's not a challenge. That's a problem. And now you are absolutely using being an addict and that of you don't care. So then that means me, in my end, how do I not lose hope? Self-care. How do I keep going? Well, hoping, refilling my glass, looking at it differently, right? It's about the simple fact of mental or physical can be a prison, yet your attitude sets you free, no matter what it is, right? You have a cup, you have water, and you can fill it. It's that simple. How do you fill it? That's up to you. Your attitude, right? And, don't let it overflow. Don't shut down and isolate. Keep going. Give freely what you have. Yet there are points in recovery that essentially, if you overdo it, right? Like, for an instance, I was at a point when I was sponsoring at that point of that level and that willingness to do everything basically. Oh, you're about to eat, let me feed you, right? Yes, there are some that had to sit there and eat the same thing for 5 days. It doesn't matter what it is, you better eat it or you're not going to eat any new stuff. I don't care, right? Forcing them to work a program, whatever, right? That hurt, that pain, okay, I got you. I get it. I'll help you out. So like my sponsees, I would give them a folder. I would give them a notebook. They always had a pen, so that wasn't something I basically gave. And all that stuff. And I would print out the steps as well, right? Now, did my sponsor do that for me? No, not at all. They basically, if I didn't communicate to a certain, like in a timely manner, were they seen that I was putting the work in? Yeah, I didn't contact them every day. I kind of forgot, even though I put it in my calendar, but I didn't act on it, right? Because my stinking thinking in the past, basically, is if I thought about it again, then I would do it instead of just doing it, getting it done. What? Yet, there's points to where I did all that. And, some sponsees, they lost a folder, they da, even though it's all online, and you can go ahead and speech to text it in each thing, right? So, anywho, so I'm at the point of sponsoring, okay, well, if you want this, then we're going to do it this way. I don't care what you think. and upon the point of that's your stinking thinking. This is why you got here. Let's go ahead and change our ways. Yet it comes down to the simple point that you want what I have, then you're going to go to any length to get it, right? There's points to where I'm very scholared in this whole recovery thing. And I absolutely know that if you do not have a foundation, then you have nothing. And if you don't have an understanding within this, then you have nothing. And if you're going to go off of what everyone else says, then you have nothing. So I'm not there when you go to use, right? You're going to have to face that man in the mirror, essentially. You're going to be the one that pays for the consequences of your using. Now, consequences are not bad and they're not good, right? Somebody that manifested, put the work in for that life of having a bajillions, whatever amount of bartering things, money, right? To the point where, is that a consequence of their work that they put in? Absolutely. So is that bad? No. How they got there, that's a different thing. Yet, so consequences are not bad or good, they just are what they are, right? And you have to pay for the price of your actions. Maybe you were reacting and that's why it's such a detriment and whatever in your negative attitude, and you're going against tradition 4, attempting to do tradition 5 without tradition 1 upon itself, and no promise 6. Essentially balking your way through the whole entire thing. That's cool. You do you. Do you need to be do you need to go back to step 0? More research? Go for it. This is you. You're going to have to pay for those consequences. Absolutely. Yet. So, essentially, right? So this is me keeping my peace of mind. Because I tried. I tried. And now I'm not talking about the sponsy thing. I'm talking about the whole not being able to leave at an adequate time. Like, what? You want to stay there all day? You have less to do today, but it's going to take you the same amount of time as if you did all those other things? That's insanity. And I'm talking about the quoted, unquoted definition of Albert Einstein. Doing the same thing over again, expecting a different result. Yet. So now it comes down to, I tried. You don't want what I have? I'm moving on. Absolutely. I am done giving that to you. You don't want it? Fine. You don't want to respect me? Fine. You don't want to respect yourself? Fine. Simply to say the same thing with the sponsee. If they don't want it, let them go, right? That's what the big book says, right? Essentially give them like 3 strikes, right? That's what my peer support has said, and everything like that. My sponsor even says it, but they didn't go into, this gave me the simple fact of, well, they don't want it, move on. Well, me and my needing to figure it out, having these spiritual awakenings, and putting the work in to manifest it, to get to this point of not having a hard heart and all that kind of stuff. Just keep on building. Keep showing up. And so, upon the 3 strike thing, right? Because balking is baseball or whatever, sports in of itself where you fake them out. And so, 3 strikes. Okay. Like the big book says, you go out of your way to help them out. You drop everything when they're calling for help. Not isolating, needing help, needing you to give them suggestions and guidance upon how to do this because they don't know. And so, their higher power, your higher power, what it may be, is talking through you, because that's what step 5 is really about, essentially. And so, but on, the first strike, they didn't show up. Okay, but why? Okay, well, let's go and hunt them down, essentially. Oh my gosh, I've hunted down so many sponsees. So many. Oh my goodness. Like, there was a point where I had 6 sponsees, and I still am dedicated to that, but I was so, I don't have a life. I don't got time. One sponsee is a lot. Two sponsees is a lot. Six? Whoa! Especially at the level of me, oh, here's a notebook, here's all this stuff, let's do it. Oh, I forgot my notebook. Well, it's all digital, and I know I said this to you, but you don't remember. Oh, okay. That's fine. Right? And so I would hunt them down, basically forcing the work program. Was I still encouraging and loving and, there? Absolutely. But then it comes to a point where it's like I get disheartened, and how do I not lose hope, and what level of self-care do I now need to be at? Because those things are unmanageable. I'm powerless over it. Okay, well then let me believe that I'm going to get restored to sanity. How? By making a decision to turn my will and my life over to care of something. By what? Now doing inventory. To what? Be able to have, humility, or, have, and then remove those shortcomings. And then what it is, keep on communicating and all that kind of stuff. And then have those shortcomings be asked to be removed, and then having humility, and then making a list of all things that basically got used, thoughts, persons, and then making amends to such people whenever possible, which would be myself, essentially, because I didn't add any more hurt to anyone else. I just self-sabotaged myself and was self-seeking. That, there's a point where I found in, the NA text of, I'm going to want it more than you. Yet I'm obsessing over it. And there's come to a point where that's great if you want it, but I know I want it, and da-da-da-da-da. Because as a sponsor, I know, essentially, I'm not keeping you sober. I'm keeping myself sober. I'm working the steps. I'm doing all that stuff. Yes, you're helping me more than I'm helping you, but it doesn't seem like that at that moment, right? Ugh. And so then what? Step 10, continue to make progress. And if I was wrong, promptly admit it. Oh, okay. Well then, now 11, continue to make progress, and then constant, conscious contact with my higher power. I understand them. And then what? 12. Well, because of having a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, I try to carry the message to those that are still sick and suffering, right? And to practice my principles in all my affairs. Absolutely. Okay? Absolutely. So essentially, there's a whole first strike, right? To where, oh, you missed it, da-da-da-da-da, okay. Well, is it really a first strike if they are putting the work in? Oh, okay. Yet, then the second strike, oh, you did it again. Okay, well, let me give you a reminder. Now let me preach to you. Okay. Oh, they did it again. Oh, okay. Third strike. I'm not going to hunt you down. I'm not going to go ahead and drop everything, because I've dropped things before to what? Not have time for myself and my self-care. Drove myself insane because I'm trying to figure out why they don't get it, da-da-da-da. And did I go to any of my appointments that I need? Did I have my family time? Don't they deserve that too? Absolutely, right? I am just the same as you. I'm having this human experience just like you. And so, I'm just saying there's points. And so, essentially, that's with like everything, right? You practice the principles in all your affairs. You can get so boggled down by the simple fact of, oh, it says this. Oh, it's only about addiction. No, it's about everything. Everything without moderation is an addiction. It really, really is. It really, really is. So, going to the whole not sponsorship part of what I've been talking about, how do I go about the next thing? Because yes, there's points where I'm in a halfway house and they do scholarships, and so you get put to work basically, and all that kind of stuff. Well, they can't afford certain things, and me not losing hope for the next one. Well, I'm going to keep doing what I was doing before, right? It's about that marathon, and it's about that ingredient. Because like my sponsor said, do everything that got you to this point of being sober. And then, get to a point doing one thing at a time. Don't do that as much, right? Don't add so much sweetness to it this time, right? And if that part makes your life unmanageable, right? And you're going insane about it, right? You're losing your peace of mind. See, that's why you only do one thing at a time, so you can really see the variables and all that kind of stuff, and not boggling yourself by a fire talk, essentially. Whew. You go ahead and then go back to doing everything 100% what you did before. Absolutely. And yeah. And so, have I provided dishwashing gloves? Because it's, there's points, right? So many points. The water's hot. That's the only way to really get the grease off of everything. You have to have the water hot. There's points, right? Because that dishwasher does not do everything. All it does is a fancy way of sanitizing things. That's all the dishwasher does. It's not there to take off all the food, right? That's why on some dishwashers, they say you got to change the water every 2 hours. Why? Because of all the food and junk that's on there. Now you're just washing whatever it is with dirty water. And it's why even wash it at all? What? Now I know as a dishwasher that I've done it for over 7 years of total count, that I know that you can spray off all that food, put it in the dishwasher, and never have to change that water because you're not, whatever, right? And so I know. But until you get to the point of making that progress, seeing your economy of motion and how to go about it, you're going to probably want to change that water, especially if you're not the only one spraying. I'm just saying, right? And so essentially, where am I at in this whole entire thing? Well, I'm keeping my peace of mind. Yeah, I will keep on providing whatever it may be for the next one to come. Yet, are they here yet? That's a question at hand. Absolutely. Do I need to make sure everyone else pays for that one moment? No, it's about me keeping my peace of mind and going upon that self. Absolutely. And so, that's what I have today. Thank you very much. So essentially, it really comes down to, well, how do you keep your peace of mind? How do you not steal anybody else's peace of mind? How do you keep going with keeping up with unity, not devaluing anything, and, carrying your message? Because ultimately, that's what it is. How do you treat somebody else how you want to be treated? Sometimes the best way of showing them is to show them, right? Our leaders are not but trusted servants. They do not govern, right? They're a leader, and leaders are there to do the hard work because someone needs to. Because if no one did, then we would not be at this point of our lives, right? Of being able to control the environment, air conditioning, right? Regardless of if it's the right thing or not. There's points where it's like, oh, it's dark in here. Let's add a window. Let's add some lights. Wouldn't that just be logically to live outside? Well, yeah, but then, that's why I bring a plant inside and bring some animals from the outside that always want to go outside. Do you want them to go in the bathroom? Oh, they gotta go. Oh. So, regardless of all that, and essentially focusing on that pain, right? And being religious to the point where you are gonna act like someone's gonna come save you. What? Did you put any work in? What's your part in this whole entire endeavor? Oh, I just kept complaining, kept hoping for a future, which is hope, for someone to come save me. Oh, well, I'm here. I'm here. I'm what you've asked for. Oh, you don't like it? Oh, you don't like it. Oh, okay. Well, then let me go about my way, right? Doing the right thing, donating food, essentially, right? So you can get to a point of wanting to getting to, and not having to the point where it simply comes down to, well, I did the right thing. I donated food. Well, I'm going to go about my life because I'm important. I got things to do too. But you don't want what I have? Okay, I'll move on. Hopefully, I'm sure it's going to happen, right? Because life is going to be, oh, you don't like that degree or that level of what it was that you asked for before? Well, now you're re-asking, essentially, and, well, let's go ahead and do it this way. So the one that comes, because I'm sure they're going to come, will not have the same motivation and intention to go ahead and be as kind, because you didn't want that at that moment. And so someone is going to be a lot harsher to simply say. And so, hopefully they don't not control, or whatever it may be, right? But to say simply, if someone doesn't come along, you're going to die. Now, maybe that's a more metaphorical way of saying, your attitude has to die. Because, well, if you're not eating today, you're probably going to want to eat because your body's not going to want, there's points, right? And so your attitude has to change, because ultimately that's what it is. In the big book, that's what it says. Your attitude is what is holding you back. Change it. You have to. Stop being a poop head and treating others with no respect, because you don't even respect yourself. And so now you're just projecting on them, essentially asking for help without saying the words, I need help. And so there are those that do try, yet where is it happening at? Is it at work when you don't have the time to have these philosophical communications, right? Breaking up the one word that really depicts 50, and you just have to do what needs to be done at that moment, living life on life's terms, regardless if it's the right or wrong thing. You gotta do it because you want to eat, because that's how you're going to be able to eat today, essentially. And yet, so do the right thing. Donate that food. Yet move on. You're not their parent. You're not there to be their God and provide everything for them. That's not what any of this is about. Life, recovery, none of it. Absolutely not. So essentially, I hope I really did line something up for somebody. I know I did for myself, because I'm somebody. And I get to do this. I'm showing up. So hopefully I line something up for somebody. Yet, ultimately, I hope you find something that requires you to keep coming back to this, to that, to what it may be. Being an active part of your recovery, regardless of what it is. Seeing when you need to make progress. Admitting when you're wrong. And not stealing anybody else's peace of mind. Rehydrating. It's a marathon. What ingredient is going to keep you, sober in that moment? That's why there's no advice in recovery, right? And so it doesn't matter if that was a past. What are you going to do now? The past is done, and that's easy, right? So hopefully I line something up for somebody, and ultimately I hope that you find something that requires you to keep coming back. To what? Unity. For what? Unity. For who? You. Absolutely. So you don't keep on doing this, whatever it was. You get to a point where you do what needs to be done because it's the right thing to do, because you become a leader at that point. Absolutely. And always remember, your shoes fit just right. You do not need, other than, knowing that you do deserve to take up space. That what you have to offer is valuable. But get out of your head. Get away from your stinking thinking and accept the help that you asked for. Right? Because you asked for it. Have a great day. I love you. Thank you very much. This is essentially how I'm going to sum up what I feel about recovery with this next thing. Absolutely. Thank you very much. And I do love you, because I see that you're a shooting star, and at points you do shoot yourself in the foot. Yet it's time to heal. Please be of service and work a program by respecting a program, by being of service and sharing, essentially. I love you. Have a great day.
I'll follow you wherever you go. Stay close to you, 'cause darling, you're my home.